Let me just start off by saying that Dangers in My Heart has gone down as easily one of my favorite slice of life romance / comedy series I have watched in a long time. This is a show that, honestly, I might actually put in my top list of all time just because I loved it that much. A series that, yes, at face value just looks like another teasing girl, waifu type show, but deep underneath is so much more. It is a primary example of a studio, a director, and a musician taking a source material and making it so much more. But before I gush too much, let's jump into my review of The Dangers in My Heart, a 12-episode series that aired in the spring 2023 anime season. Thankfully, we already have a second season announced, and I cannot wait for it. So let's jump into this review. The Dangers in My Heart opens up with a boy named Ichikawa. He's really into these murder mystery type books, and that has sort of led him to have these dark thoughts about his classmates. Very grim and gruesome thoughts. But the one that takes his target the most is a classmate named Yamada. She's very tall, she's very gorgeous, she's actually a model, and Ichikawa believes that Yamada is always looking down on him. And he dreams of the day that he can see her covered in blood. Well, Ichikawa doesn't have any friends. He's sort of an outcast. And his only place of silence and peace is a library, so any chance that he can get, he'll hang out there. Well, one day, Yamada starts hanging out there as well. See, Yamada has a certain joy in her life, and that is snacks. She loves snacking. And even though the library doesn't allow it, she often finds herself there. And Ichikawa hates this because, again, this is his haven, and yet this girl keeps invading it. But it's through these encounters that they slowly learn more about each other. And Ichikawa himself even finds that in often cases whenever Yamada's in danger or has some issue, he ends up stepping in. He doesn't know why. And early on in the series, you have this point in which Yamada is at her worst. And Ichikawa sees this, and it sort of triggers something deep in his heart that he's not really sure what it is. Or maybe that he knows what it is, he just doesn't want to accept it. And that gets into my thoughts of The Dangers in My Heart. Like I gushed about at the very beginning, the nutshell of it, it's amazing. I love it to death. Everything about it, I love. Now, the only real negative I can give this series is that early on, I wasn't really grabbed by it. The first couple episodes were just kind of, okay, this is cute, Yamada's cute, Ichikawa's, down on himself, has these dark thoughts, whatever. But it wasn't until that changing point, that point in which Yamada was at her worst early on, that everything shifted. And I really did truly see both the capabilities of the writer here, the subtleties in storytelling, and the amazing directing and music that takes everything to a whole nother level. At the core of this story is romance, yes. It is discovery. It is discovering that you like somebody. But so much more than that. What we get too much in anime is these series where you have the loser that the cute girl for some reason is obsessed with them, and it just kind of turns into this whole thing of, oh, you find out that in their past he saved her life from a dog or something. It's always really cheesy and it never really goes anywhere. But Dangers in My Heart is different. It's a subtle progression of somebody not just falling in love, but actually realizing how much they hate themselves. There's a deep-rooted element in here of Ichikawa and his insecurities. He believes everybody hates him, and he wants everybody to be covered in blood. He's got that mindset, these dark thoughts that are constantly flooding his head. It's a secret that he keeps from everybody, but he's not really hiding it. And it's discovering what really that issue is, and if it can be resolved, is really kind of the progression of Ichikawa's character. And some might find him early on kind of unbearable about how he just constantly thinks the worst, but that sort of plays into his character and ultimately leads into a very impactful ending. On the opposite end, Yamada is an absolute dork. This girl is a dork. From the very beginning, we get that first scene with her sitting in the library with some potato chips, and she is just having a ball eating those chips. I kind of liken it to Inukai-san's dog, where this girl is just kind of having fun in the bath with the dog and biting at its face and stuff. It's super dorky, trying to talk with her mouth full. And these little goofy things that she does, like giving Ichikawa an empty bag of chips like he wants it. It's all these big massive question marks that you're just trying to figure out what is going through Yamada's head. Does she like Ichikawa? Why does she keep hanging out with him? Is she comfortable with him? Does she notice that Ichikawa keeps helping her out? It's a question mark that honestly keeps going throughout the series because you never get a perspective of Yamada herself. What I like about the series, despite the fact that especially early on there's very little communication about feelings, you sort of get hints based on their actions and subtle body movements. Again, another tribute to the directing itself. You see Yamada's hesitation. You see her kind of turn around and look a little disappointed. You see what she's thinking. And for a story to do that, I think it's incredible. This isn't a case of lack of communication either. I really don't like shows that are just based around miscommunication or lack thereof. These characters talk, and they do express. And while there's struggles at certain points based on that, it's never drug out. This isn't one of those shows where you have 5 episodes up to the climax because one character thought the other character meant something different. It's refreshing. These characters know when to communicate, even if everything isn't spelled out for each other. It's just enough that I really do love these characters and the relationship they have, and I root for them. These characters were meant for each other. And that gets into so many deeper subjects between the characters themselves. Like I mentioned earlier, Ichikawa and his insecurity, feeling that he's not enough, feeling that Yamada is on this plateau he'll never get on. Yamada and her fears of failing others that have expectations upon her. Her strong desire to make some sort of connection, find something in similarity with Ichikawa, even though he constantly shoots them down. There's nothing more dangerous to oneself than the idea of never feeling adequate. Never giving anything a shot because you always have the fear of being let down. It is something that sort of builds up within yourself and ultimately destroys you because you never try anything, even if there is a chance that it can actually happen. And I think Dangers in My Heart does a really good job of portraying that, whether it be positive or negative, without ever really getting bogged down in one particular idea. And what sort of enhances each and every single one of these subjects and their ultimate climaxes throughout the series is the music. The music was absolutely brilliant, which makes sense because it's Kensuke Ushio. And for those who don't know who Ushio is, they did music for A Silent Voice, Liz and the Bluebird, Chainsaw Man, Hike Story. This guy is absolutely incredible. And to give you a reason why exactly this music works so well, is that it has depth to it. The music is simple at times, but it has depth to it. This is one of those styles that whenever they press the key on the piano, you hear the inner workings of the piano. You feel it deep in your gut when that tone is hit. And they essentially take that deep feeling and they put it into the scene itself. So when the characters are having emotion, when Ichikawa is struggling with what he's about to do, you feel it in your gut. You feel emotion building up physically based on the actions happening on the screen. It is so absolutely brilliant. It's no stretch to say that the guy's a genius. Now, I feel like I've overly addressed everything but the comedy is solid in this series as well. It's kind of that type of comedy that doesn't feel like it's going out of its way in order to get to a punchline. It's just kind of one of those aspects of it sort of just happens. Either it's because Yamada's being a goofball and that's just her nature and she kind of just wants to grab that attention, or it's just the idea of Ichikawa sort of just getting the wrong impression of the situation or just kind of getting lost in his own mind. Every single comedic beat, when it's going for it, had me chuckling, or it just had me just with a big smile. These two are absolute goofballs, and to see them together, the chemistry just works. It sort of plays into why I support Yamada and Ichikawa coming together in some way, no matter what. They just kind of work with each other. And yes, a lot of it has to do with how persistent Yamada is, despite it not seeming like outwardly. Well, I will say that probably this series' weakest point is the side characters. I think it doesn't really matter too much because there's so much focus on Yamada and Ichikawa. You eventually get some inclusion of like Kobayashi, who is like the boyfriend of Yamada, the one that's always looking out for her. You have Moiko, who's just got so much heart in there, and you know that she's looking out for the best for Yamada. Seeing her shoot down the other boys in class constantly is always a lot of fun. But I think the one that really did grab me the most as a side character was definitely Ichikawa's sister. She is just one of those types where it's completely misunderstood by Ichikawa himself, and that the true nature of his sister is so heartwarming. Like, I was welling up several times whenever kind of it gets those moments of realization about what she's doing. She's just got a soft spot for her brother, and she wants the best for her brother. But I could go on and on and on with like a 5-hour-long video deep diving into everything. I've done a couple impression videos, and some people that have been on my channel probably hear that I'm repeating a lot of things, but I want to make a full-on review for those that have not watched the series and don't want the spoilers. It's kind of one of those series that I was actually surprised that I had things to talk about in a weekly video. It's a good character study to really try to pick at what the characters are thinking or not thinking, just going based on their body language and their actions instead. It's truly a special series that I didn't see coming from a mile away. This is literally my gem of the season, and I cannot express enough. Please go watch Dangers in My Heart. I cannot wait for the second season. I'm hoping that it's just as good as the first season. I'm hoping that the staff itself will return for the second season because, again, Their work's absolute gold. But that's my review of The Dangers in My Heart. I hope you guys enjoyed this video as always. If you did, make sure to hit that like button down below. Comment, let me know what you thought of the series or if you're going to be checking it out. Additionally, if you're new to this channel, make sure that subscribe button so you got my content, adding news, reviews, first impressions, top list. If it's anime, it's pretty much here. Additionally, if you want to support the channel more, I have a Patreon link, tips link, super thanks, and membership button down below. I greatly appreciate everybody that supports the channel. Special shout out to King David 1001 who just became a member of the channel. I greatly appreciate it. And with that said, y'all take care.